Cheers from Japan, Tokyo Toy Bastard here with a video about Godzilla! So this past weekend, Godzilla King of the Monsters came out, and it came out here in Japan at the same time that it did in the US. So I went to go see it opening day Friday, not the night before because I've got kids and they're not allowed to go into movie theaters after 11 in Japan. So we went the Friday, me and my daughter and my son, and we enjoyed the movie. They really enjoyed it. I thought it was an improvement over the 2014 Gareth Edwards movie, but it's still, it's not my style of Godzilla. So I prefer the Japanese Godzilla films. And I wanted to talk about my top 5 favorite Japanese Godzilla films here today on my channel. So while I'm talking about these movies, I'm going to be showing the different releases of them and also talk about the toys that went along with these movies as we go along. So yeah, let's get into it. Enjoy. And if you don't like my picks, I'm sorry, there are different kinds of Godzilla fans. Some like the Showa era, some like the Heisei era, some prefer the American movies, but I'm going to do a little bit of each in my my best of here. But these are my top 5 favorites in no particular order, but I am saving my very favorite for last. So let's get started here. Up first, I would say these are maybe actually tied. This is actually 2 movies. These are tied for maybe my number 5 spot, but I'll just talk about both of them. And fortunately, they're both packed on a double disc Blu-ray collection, and those movies are Godzilla, Mothra, and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, and Godzilla against Mechagodzilla from 2002. And the other one, abbreviated to GMK, was in 2001. So I like both of these movies about equally for different reasons. So I think I actually like Godzilla against Mechagodzilla a little better, mainly because of the Godzilla suit design and the awesome Mechagodzilla suit, and I like the characters a bit more. GMK is a great movie, but I'm actually not a fan of the monster designs. They look a little too little too fake in my opinion. Like the Ghidorah's head, it looks like it's made out of plastic, And the Godzilla looks too dry. Like he seems like he should be covered in water or something for some. It would make him look more realistic. I'm not sure. Anyway, I don't dislike these designs. They're just not my favorite from the Millennium series. But a lot of people say that this is their favorite Godzilla movie. It was actually directed by the director that did the Gamera trilogy, and those are actually my favorite giant monster movies ever. So anyway, these are both great movies, but I'm going to talk about the toys from this one because I don't have any toys of this one on hand. So I will talk about these 2 little gems. These were deluxe minifigures. They're soft vinyl and they're glow in the dark. So you've got Mechagodzilla and Godzilla, and these were released around 2002 or 2003, around the time the movie came out. And Godzilla against Mechagodzilla also has a sequel called. It's got Mothra in it too. It's called Tokyo SOS. But I like the first movie, and I like these little figures. I don't have a lot of the figures from that movie, but yeah, these 2 are probably my favorite from that line, from that movie. And yeah, they're glow in the dark, and they're cool, and they're small. They don't take up a lot of space. All right, moving on. For my number 4 pick. Actually, a lot of people would say, oh, this has to be number 1. It is kind of, but as far as the movies I like that I rewatch, this is probably one of the ones I don't watch as much because it's, it's a bit different. But it is the original. It's not a very fun movie to sit through. It's kind of dark and depressing, and I like a little bit more color and action in the Godzilla movies. But this is probably the best Godzilla movie since it is the first, and it's the very first Godzilla movie where he's not fighting anyone. And I actually tend to prefer movies where Godzilla doesn't fight any other monsters, where he is the villain. So this kicked it all off, and this Criterion Collection version is the best way to own this movie. There are a couple other prints on DVD, but they've got cropping, picture, and sound issues. Like this one's beautiful. And it comes in this slipcover, which is really weird because when you open up the disc, it actually has a picture of the Godzilla from the Godzilla against Mechagodzilla instead of the original 1954 Godzilla, which is kind of strange. But it's got this essay about the movie here and some history on it. Anyway, again, in my top 5, but I don't watch it as much as I watch these other ones, so it's in my number 4 spot for now. Still a classic. I also don't have a lot of figures that are based on the original Godzilla, but in place of that, I actually do have some reissued versions of the very first Godzilla figure ever made. So this was the Marusan J-Tail Godzilla, and this was released in 1968 or 69. This is a reissued jumbo-size version. It's massive. I love this toy. But yeah, this was the very first toy that Marusan produced for Godzilla, and one of the very first soft vinyl toy of Godzilla. And it's been reissued many times, but I love this jumbo-size version. And it doesn't actually look anything like the Godzilla from the original movies, but he's more lizardy, snaky looking. But I love this figure. A lot of people don't like the design on this, but it's one of my favorites. Unfortunately, I don't have an original because I'm not going to pay almost $1,000 for one. So yeah, maybe one day. And I also do have a solid yellow version. So this is more of the scale that the original one was in. And they produced these in a rainbow assortment of solid colors, but I got the yellow one. And then I've also got a little miniature one. This was actually produced by Bullmark. So actually, Marusan later had some of their staff members create their own software company called Bullmark, and they also acquired the license and the molds for this. So the earlier ones were released by Marusan, the later ones were released by Bullmark. Yeah, so the Bullmark released this little miniature version. They released a bunch of other small ones. Anyway, yeah, this one's Marusan. It's got circle. Maru means circle. Marusan. There you go. Yeah, so that's the J-tailed original Godzilla figure reissues to represent the 1954 movie, since they were the first toys, the first movie. So, up next, I'm going to talk about these in order because these are sequels, or one's a movie and the other one's a sequel to that movie. So let's talk about the first one. So this is probably the first Godzilla movie I ever saw as a kid. My grandmother or my uncle, who was living with my grandmother at the time, rented it, and I loved it. But I watched the American cut, Godzilla 1985. The original version has some more stuff in it, and it doesn't have Raymond Burr cut into it. So this is Godzilla 1984, also known as The Return of Godzilla or just Godzilla. In Japan, it was just released as Godzilla. There was no subtitle or subtext. I love this movie. It goes back to Godzilla's roots. It's very dark. The special effects are way better than the Showa movies. Technically, this is in the Showa series, but it was produced. It's basically the first movie that kicks off the Heisei films, so I consider it a Heisei movie. But it was made in the Showa era. But it's got a lot of Cold War tension. It's got a lot of destruction, and it's not as goofy. And it does have a robotic Godzilla for some scenes that kind of looks a bit goofy, but I wish they would re-edit it with that taken out. But anyway, great movie. If you haven't seen it, definitely watch this version over the 85 version, although I love the ending of the 85 version, the US cut, because they make Godzilla scream. So sad. The ending of the movie is very sad, especially if you watch the American cut. But recommend this one. And over here, I actually have an original 1984 Godzilla produced by Bandai, and he looks a little bit like this was like one of the first toys that Bandai produced to go along with the movies, and I like this one. There was also a I believe it was between 6 and 8 inch version, and that one's quite expensive and hard to find. But yeah, I like this one. I like smaller toys now. Either like really big toys or small toys. I don't know. I got problems. Same scale. I've also got this candy toy, deluxe candy toy that came with gum or candy in a box of Godzilla 1985, and that looks a lot more like him, although it's not really painted or anything. And lastly, I've got this diorama set from the film. This is more modern, but it depicts the scene where he picks up a train and he just drops it and everyone dies, and it's terrible. It's awesome, but it's terrible. There's also a Ghostbusters promotional sign in the corner when you watch the movie. It's not on here, but look for that if you watch the movie. All right, and up next, This was also a movie. I don't think I saw this movie until I was in college, and I rented it at a library. And because most of the Heisei movies were not released in the U.S. until later, so I got the VHS version of this at my local library in college when I was in Columbus, Ohio, and I love this movie, and it is currently still one of my favorite. I have probably more posters of this than anything else in my room. So this is Godzilla vs. Biollante, the sequel to Godzilla 1984. And this came out in '89, so this is technically the true first entry of the Heisei era. And it's the first movie where Godzilla fights another monster in the form of Biollante, who is a fan favorite and is a monster comprised of Rose DNA, Godzilla DNA, and the DNA of a dead teenage girl. So there you go. Great movie, a lot of fun. This movie's kind of cheesy, but it's fun cheesy, and the monster suit designs are amazing. The Godzilla suit's a big improvement, and great film. I highly recommend watching this one. And this Blu-ray release just came out last year, and this was the first time they put it out with the subtitles. So I recommend this release if you're going to be buying it. Okay, and for Biollante, I have quite a few figures here. Start off small. I've got this little Biollante eraser Keshi. You know, I'm a big Keshi collector. I have some other Biollante Keshi. I just didn't. It's up there somewhere. Actually, I'll grab it because I don't have another toy of this. I've got this. This is Biollante when she is still in rose form, and it's an epic depiction. They do make some soft vinyl toys of the rose, and they're always really expensive. I need to get some at some point. Up next, slightly larger, I've got these Marusan gacha toys. These are gachapon machine toys, or they were sold in blind boxes. Either way. So you got Biollante, and you've got Godzilla from the film Godzilla '89. Godzilla. And I like the bright colors on these. These were both produced last year, and you know, like I said, they were random, and I was lucky enough to get both of these, and these were two that I really wanted. So, and they come in different colors. So. Yeah, you can find these on Yahoo auctions and things. There's a ton of them. They make a lot of other characters, but I like the Biollante versions. And my son's here. Hi, buddy. And actually, speaking of my son, this is my son's Biollante. You want to come talk? This is last year. Bandai produced the Movie Monster series Biollante, and I bought this one for my son. Do you like this one?
Yeah.
You like that? Yeah. Because he really wanted to play with my original vintage Biollante, which is here, and these are a little bit more expensive. These are in the $100 to $200 range, depending on the condition and if it has a box. But I got this fairly cheap. But if you can see, Bandai's been scaling down their toys, so it's much smaller. But since this came out, these prices on these have dropped a bit, so that's been one good thing, I guess. Anyway, glad to have this guy. Biollante is one of my favorite monsters. I don't collect a lot of the other monsters, so. Those are some Biollantes, all right? And last but not least, I am going to show you my favorite Godzilla movie of all time. You gotta go? All right. Are you gonna pass? Can you do this in another room, dude? All right. He's trying to get his Nintendo Switch, and he's making a lot of noise. All right, so my favorite Godzilla movie of all time, and I saw it in theaters here opening day, is Shin Godzilla. And I have both the special edition Japanese release and the American release, which has the dub on it, but it has subtitles because this movie has a lot of talking and a lot of the jargon my wife, who's Japanese, couldn't even understand because it was so rapid fire, a lot of scientific, political things. So good to have the subtitles. What are you doing? The Japanese special edition also has 3 discs, and it's got the film, and then it's got 2 discs of special features. One of the discs has a bunch of the outtakes, the special effects tests, and incomplete scenes, and they're really interesting. I believe the YouTube channel Film Toaster has uploaded some of those onto YouTube, so I recommend checking those out. Great soundtrack. Shin Godzilla was directed by the creator of Evangelion. Shinji Higuchi did the special effects on the movie, and he was the special effects director of Gamera. But Hideaki Anno, I always butcher his name, who created Evangelion, was the director of Shin Godzilla, and you can tell it's very, very much in his style, and it is still my favorite Godzilla movie. It goes back to Godzilla being the destructor, and he's the main focus, and there are no other monsters for him to fight. It's basically him versus Japan. And yeah, I saw it in the theater. I picked up this theater guide, and I took some pictures of it before the opening night here and shared them on my blog so that people could see some of the stuff that was in the movie. And I remember getting a lot of comments and feedback on my blog because I posted some of the early spoilers. But of course, there was a warning. This is before I was doing a lot of YouTube videos, but I showed some of his special powers that he has that he doesn't have in other movies. So if you haven't seen it, I won't spoil it for you. But he's got some cool stuff going on. And I actually have over 20 Shin Godzilla toys. So I'm just going to show you a few here that are all kind of in the same series. So these are all from the Movie Monsters series, except for this one. But this is a scaled down version of the Movie Monsters Kamata-kun, who is Godzilla's second form, technically, in the film. And this is better scaled to the other toys. They also made a bigger one, but it's like too big because it doesn't scale correctly with the other Movie Monster figures of Shin Godzilla. So yeah, this is Kamata-kun. I like the scale of this one. And I've got his next form, which is known as Shinagawa-kun because he transforms in Shinagawa District. And another creepy figure. He's not in this form for very long in the movie, and he's quite creepy in this form, I think. He kills an entire family when he's in this form, right before he changes. And this is the final form, or the fourth form, Bandai Movie Monsters. It's quite dusty. It's got the original tag. I bought this before the film came out. They usually put the toys out a month or so before the movie comes out. And then I also got the theater exclusive Shin Godzilla, which is bright translucent red, and you can't quite see it, but it's got golden sparkles inside. And the prices on these shot up really crazily like the first few months, and they've started to go back down again. So if you're looking to acquire this one, I wouldn't pay any more than $75 for it, because at one point it was going up to almost $200, and that was kind of crazy. But yeah, that's some of my Godzilla collection and 5 of my favorite films. Hope I didn't ramble too much or didn't leave out any important information. I tend to do that, but anyway, I hope you enjoyed this. I hope that if you haven't seen any of those movies, that you go out and check out some of them. And of course, I love almost all the Godzilla movies, but those are my 5 favorites. So let me know in the comments, what's your favorite Godzilla movie, or what's your top 5 favorite Godzilla movie? Did you like my picks? Did you think I'm completely wrong? Did you like the new movie? Let me know. Until next time, see ya later. Yeah. Oh, check out my posters. There's my Shin Godzilla artwork from the art book. There's my Biollante theater guide. I've got my Godzilla 84 poster. I've got my original Godzilla poster. Come over here. You've got Godzilla 84. Biollante.